30 years ago, January 13th, I was a sergeant with the Metropolitan Police Department. I was assigned to the 1st District. I was working day work, and I was on my way home. And I remember because I was stuck on Ohio Drive in the rush hour traffic. I had just passed under the Memorial Bridge, which is about a mile or so, a mile and a half from the 14th Street Bridge. I either had a police radio with me or I heard it on the car's radio, and I can't quite recall if I actually heard the impact or not. But right around 4 o'clock, it came out that a plane was down in the river. It described briefly what happened because no one was really sure exactly what had happened at that point. The tower thought that the plane was lost initially, but it had actually gone down on the bridge. It belly flopped, went over the guardrail and into the river through the ice. The ice was probably about 10 inches thick at that time. So there were 74 passengers on board, and they were all headed to Fort Lauderdale to the warmer weather before the crash occurred. It had snowed heavily the night before, and the visibility was not very good at all. Matter of fact, I don't know how the helicopter was able to fly that day because the visibility was so poor. The airport was closed. It opened up again around noon. The aircraft was de-iced right after 3 o'clock, and just before 4 o'clock, it was approved for takeoff. Right after takeoff, the pilot knew they were going down, and he voiced his concern over the air. The plane struck the bridge, the inbound span. It belly flopped on the bridge. I think it struck 3 or 4 cars, and then went through the guardrail down into the ice, broke through the ice, and rested in about 30 feet of water. There were 5 individuals who were awarded medals for heroism on that day. Roger Oleon, who you saw in the news clip, he attempted to go after the people that were floating in the river, but he couldn't make it out and had to turn back. Lenny Skutnik was the one who pulled the one, I think she was a flight attendant. He pulled her back to the shore. There was Gene Windsor. He was a paramedic on the helicopter who kept dropping flotation devices to the people in the water. And then there was Don Usher, who was not only piloting the helicopter, but while he was doing that, he was dropping flotation devices in the water. That 5th person is a fellow by the name of Orland Williams. And Mr. Williams continually passed the the donut that was being dropped by the helicopter to other people in the river, and by the time they came back to get him, he had already gone under and had drowned. The crash was due to pilot error and ground crew error. Ambulance crews had no cold water rescue equipment, and one of the big things that hampered the rescue attempt was no radio interoperability among the agencies involved. Next day, I was assigned to stand post at the temporary morgue that was set up on the bank of the river. And for the next couple of days at least, they were pulling bodies out of the plane. They had a barge by the hole in the ice where the plane went under with a crane. And they were pulling up sections of seats with as many as 8 to 10 people, double rows. They were sitting in their seats, frozen. It looked like they were okay. The thing that strikes me most about that was the first row of seats that they pulled up, there was a man sitting in the left seat of the pair, and he was a guy that I had played racquetball with the day before at the Arlington Racquetball Club. Played with him regularly. He wasn't really a good friend, but I played racquetball with him regularly, and told me he was going out of town, and that was the next time I saw him when they were pulling him up from the river. So I'm sure there's a number of others in the room here that have catastrophes that you all remember, and they kind of burn an indelible mark in your mind, and you never forget them.